Joining us right now is Bernstein senior research analyst Toni Sacconaghi. Good morning to you. What do you expect we're going to hear? We've been waiting for this news for a long time. I think it's exciting to many, but also for many, there's some skepticism about when it will actually arrive.
Good morning, Andrew. Yes, I think the consensus is that Tesla will announce a dedicated Robotaxi model, likely to be available at some point in the future, let's say 27 or 28, that Tesla will demonstrate a application whereby a ride-hailing app, that it will provide some kind of update on where they are on full self-driving, and maybe also potentially announce that it's doing some Robotaxi trials. I expect if they did that, those would have to be with an accompanying driver, but nevertheless starting trials in one or more cities in the U.S. I think that's generally what's expected amongst investors. There are big questions about whether Tesla will provide updates on Optimus Robot or whether it will provide an update on new models, particularly, the revamped models expected early next year or a lower cost model expected in 27. But I think the focus will ultimately be on a Robotaxi, unveiling itself and an accompanying ride-hailing app.
So, Tony, we're looking at the stock now at $242.90. If, in fact, they make this announcement, how does this change the game? How does this change how you would value this company?
Well, I think investors are applying different probabilities and discount rates to a Robotaxi service going forward. And so I think it's widely anticipated, but as you noted at the outset, there are lots of questions. There are technical questions about whether Tesla can get to the reliability level with a more limited sensor suite. They only have cameras. Other competing autonomous vehicles have LiDAR and radar, so there's a technical question. I think there's a regulatory question. There's a timing question. And, how competitive is this space going to be? Are prices going to be driven down, and how much value will there be to be captured? So investors are ascribing different probabilities and timing to these scenarios.
What probabilities are you ascribing to those things, and how are you doing the valuation then?
Well, here's how I think about it, Andrew, is I think it will be difficult for Tesla to leapfrog existing players. Uber, Waymo, and others are doing level 4 Robotaxi service today in multiple cities. Even if Tesla is able to leapfrog, I think it'll be a limited year advantage. So let's say in a year, Tesla has level 5 Robotaxis. They can go anywhere. They have a ride-hailing service. My guess is competitors are going to catch up reasonably quickly. So this notion of having sustained outside profits, even if Tesla were to leapfrog given the technical hurdles and the regulatory hurdles, I think are difficult. And the valuation of Uber is $150 billion. The valuation of Uber, probably in the U.S. is half of that, $75 billion. Tesla stock today embeds, we think, $600 billion beyond the core auto business, much of that ascribed to Robotaxi. So we struggle with that differential given the probabilities that I outlined.
But let me ask you this in terms of just the competition piece of it, which is to say, you made the argument that you think that Uber and a Waymo will have an advantage, maybe given LiDAR and other things, over Tesla. There is an argument to be made, and maybe you'll disagree with it, which is that they have a number of they have thousands, tens of thousands of these cars on the street today that have cameras on them. They're taking in data that can't really be matched. If you look at some of their self-driving features right now, they clearly seem to be the leader or the most advanced in terms of where that would be if you were to sort of set aside what Waymo is doing. Is there an argument to be made that they will leapfrog everybody and that they, in some ways, already have?
Well, I think the bull case is they will leapfrog. I think it's very difficult to say they already have because Waymo is doing 100,000 rides a month right now with essentially a perfect safety record in multiple cities. Tesla's nowhere close to that.